Hello everyone, and welcome back to Tea Time Crochet. Today we're going to be working on the X marks the spot baby blanket. So what this is, it's just basically a solid granny square that has puff stitches on all the corners. So it kind of creates this puff stitch X going through the middle of it. It kind of creates a little bit of texture and, design. So it's a little bit more entailed than just your basic granny square, but I think it's really cute. And you could do it in any color. I just chose yellow because it's what I had on hand. So I'm going to go ahead and get to the tutorial now. Okay, so you'll just have seen the intro video that I did. This project was actually for a baby gift, so I don't have the original blanket anymore. And it's actually been gone for quite a while now. So I came up with this pattern, like I said, as a baby gift, and I wanted to go ahead and do a tutorial on it. So what I'm going to be working on today is just a sample piece. I will warn you, my voice is a little croaky this morning. It's just, my sinuses irritating everything, but what you're going to need is some worsted weight yarn. You're probably going to need 2 skeins of whatever you choose, depending on the size. Unfortunately, the other baby blanket I did was another giant ball like this that I had gotten from somewhere. I'm not sure, but I've had that one in my stash for quite a long time, and it's probably going to need, you're probably going to need 2 to 3 skeins of whatever you're going to be using. So like I said, I'm just going to be doing a sample today, so I'm going to be using this Red Heart Super Saver that I have. I do not know the color of it, because this is just from a frog project that I've done, and it's a fairly good size, so I thought I would use it today. You're going to need a 6mm crochet hook, your scissors, and your yarn needle. Since I'm just going to be doing a sample today, this is what my sample looks like. For you, you're going to be doing 22 rows. Is what my original blanket was 22 rows. You could do more rows if you wanted. You could make this blanket any size, all the way up to, a lap blanket, or you could even make it large enough for your bed if you wanted to. All you would have to do is just keep continually going and going and going. Although the larger your blanket gets, the more yarn you're going to need, so you need to keep that in mind. But for my original blanket, I did 22 rows, and that is perfect for a baby blanket. This is kind of a dense, it makes a dense fabric with the puff stitches, and it's basically a solid granny square, so it's going to be a really warm blanket. So I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the tutorial now. So we're going to start off with a slip knot. And we're going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to slip stitch to join into that beginning chain. So just like that. Go ahead and pull that tight. And we're going to be working into this ring. So we're going to chain 1, and as usual, this chain 1 doesn't count as anything. We're just going to pretend like it's not even there. And we're going to go into the ring with 3 double crochets. And on this first one, you'll want to pull up a little bit. That way your first double crochet doesn't bunch down. So that's 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to chain 2. So 1, 2, and we're going to put 3 more double crochets into that ring. So 1, 2 and 3, and then 2 more, or chain 2 more times, and then 3 more double crochets into the ring. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and then 3 more double crochets into that ring. So that's 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to chain 2, and we're going to slip stitch to join to this beginning double crochet here. So basically this is the same beginning as your regular granny square. You'll have to excuse my voice today, it's pretty croaky. So for the next round is where it's going to get different. So we're going to chain 1 and forget that's even there, and go back into that beginning stitch with 1 double crochet, and then 1 double crochet in the next stitch and in the next stitch. So for the next part is where our puff stitch is going to come in, and I do my puff stitches a little bit different than the traditional puff stitch. I do 1 more round, or 1 more loop, so I have a total of 9 loops on my hook. I'll show you in just a second. So we're going to yarn over and go into the chain 2 space, pull up a loop, and you want to pull that fairly high. We're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull up a loop. So you should have 9 loops on your hook. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then you're going to yarn over and pull through all of those loops. And then to secure that, we're going to yarn over and pull through with a slip stitch right there. And then we're going to chain 2, so 1 and 2, and we're going to create another puff stitch into that chain 2 space. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then pull through all the loops, and then slip stitch to join all that. So that is our puff stitch corner. And we're going to pull this aside, and we're going to put 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. And then we're to our next chain 2 space. So we're going to do another puff stitch. So we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, 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 and then yarn over and pull through all of those loops. You should have 9, and then yarn over and pull through that last loop to secure your puff stitch, and then chain 2. Scrunch that aside, and another puff stitch into that space. So and then we're going to pull through all those loops, and then yarn over and pull through that last loop. Scrunch that aside, and then 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches below. Oops. And then we're to another corner. So we're going to do another puff stitch, which is yarn over, go through the chain 2 space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 9 loops, and then yarn over and pull through that last loop. So what that does right there is it secures all of the loops together so they won't come undone. And then we're going to chain 2 and do another puff stitch. And then we're going to push that aside, and then 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. And then your last section here is your corner. So you have your chain 2 space, and we're going to put our puff stitches in that chain 2 space. And then chain 2, and then our last puff stitch. And then we're going to slip stitch to join to this beginning double crochet here. And that is round 2. It's going to look a little weird at first because it's not going to be really shaped like a square. It's going to be kind of puckered in places, but as long as you just, kind of pull out the corners, it'll square up. So for the next round and every round after that, you're basically repeating this over and over again, and then as the further you go, you're going to have more and more stitches in between the puff stitches. So it's, just like your basic solid granny square, but we've added the puff stitch corners to it. So for the next round, we're going to chain 1, and forget that even is there, and we're going to we're going to double crochet in the next 3 stitches below. So that's 1, oops, 2, and 3. And then we have our puff stitch here. So we're going to work into that puff stitch with a double crochet. So just like that. And then we're going to do our puff stitch corner. So we're going to actually gain 2 stitches per side, so a total of 8 stitches every round, because we're going to be working into the tops of those puff stitches, which is going to increase our blanket. So we're going to work our puff stitch into the chain 2 here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then yarn over and pull through all 9, and then pull through that last loop, and then we're going to chain 2, and then work our next puff stitch into that space. 2, yarn over and pull through all 9 loops, yarn over and pull through that last loop, and then we have our puff stitch here, which is what we're going to work our first double crochet into. And then in the next stitch, all the way over until we get to our next puff stitch. So just like that. And then we're going to work our next puff stitch corner. So 1, 2, 3, and then chain 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to put 1 double crochet in this puff stitch, and then every stitch over until we get to our next puff stitch. So just like that. And then here's our next corner. Oops. And then chain 2, and then the next puff stitch. And then once again, 1 double crochet in this puff stitch and every stitch over till our next puff stitch. Okay, so we're on our last corner. So a puff stitch, chain 2, and then a puff stitch. Chain 2, and then a puff stitch. And then we have our last puff stitch here to work 1 double crochet into. And then we're going to slip stitch to join. So that is basically what we're going to repeat throughout the entire blanket. And like I said, the more rows you do, the more stitches you'll have in between, because we're increasing 8 stitches every round. So I did, for my blanket, a total of 22 rounds or rows. Technically we're working on a row, I guess. So I did a total of 22 rows. You could do however many you would like. I probably wouldn't do any less than that, because then it wouldn't be big enough for a baby blanket. But and as you get going, these puff stitches are going to look more like an X as it gets larger and larger. It's actually pretty cool looking. So, and you could do this in a variety of different colors for, you know, any gender of baby, if you're going to give it as a baby gift. You could even actually just keep on going until it gets to the size of a lap blanket, or even, you know, you could go until it's the size of your bed if you would like. It's a pretty easy, versatile pattern. You could do any size that you would like. So, like I said, just keep repeating that over and over again until you get the size that you need. And then all you'll do is just fasten off and hide all your tails. You guys know how to do that. I'm not going to show you. So, like I said, this was just a sample. So I've already done the baby blanket, and it's actually already been gone for a while as a baby gift. So I don't even have it to show you this week. But I did want to share it with you because I came up with this pattern, like I said, for a baby gift, and it was so cute. I just thought I would add it in to a tutorial. So go ahead and do however many rows you need, fasten off, hide all your tails, and thanks for watching, and I will see you next week.